Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. It's Yankee and the Brit pregame for Thursday night football. Are we excited? It's going to be the matchup of the year, the Cardinals versus the Saints.
Honestly, Amazon have really looked out with this £1 billion deal that they've put forward, haven't they?
Yeah. We won't even get into the primetime games because I'm wondering how the Denver makes a primetime game when the Bills and the Chiefs are playing each other, but that's a different whole.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the season, it was Denver versus the Chargers, divisional game in what was meant to be the best division in football. So I get it, but the Chiefs and Bills was always going to be a good game. There's like more question marks. There's like you're just playing risk there. Like, and if you put the Bills, if you put the Chargers Broncos game at 9:25, most people would still be able to watch that game anyway. Like it would have been the game that most people were watching anyway. So it just doesn't make sense.
And for you being where you are and every other Brit, it was probably better. The game was the 3:25 game for me because then it's a 9:25 game for you. But if it would have been prime time, it would have been like what, 1 a.m. for you or something.
Yeah, whenever they're prime time, it's the kickoff starts at 1:20. So our prime time is the worst. I'm very happy with the way that prime times are working out this year, to be perfectly honest. I don't mind staying up to watch the Cowboys in prime time, but any other team, I'm like, fuck that. Like, I always want the Cowboys to be in that, what have you guys got? That 3:25 window. That's where I want it to be, because if it's not on Sky, then that's fine. I can watch it on Red Zone, and there's only 4 other games on Red Zone, so I get to see more of it than if it's on the earlier window. Then there's like 8 games going on at a time, so I might not see a lot of the Cowboys games.
I've never understood that either. Why they don't do half and half? Like, why do you pile a ton of games in the noon slot, but the 3 o'clock spot's only got a couple games? I think they should spread them out more as the fan, because if the if there's a couple of bad games at 3 o'clock, you're stuck watching a bad game. But at noon, you can bounce around different games, especially if you have the NFL Sunday Ticket or if you have a VPN. But anyway, VPN, we'll take you as a sponsor. So any VPNs.
I'm about to move to Thailand, everyone. So any VPNs, sponsorships, they'd be great. That'd be awesome.
So, all right, Maddie, let's just get to some games. And this isn't even me being a dick. I think you're actually going to appreciate this, even though Cowboys fans might take it the wrong way. I want to start with the Cowboys. The fact that Cooper Rush looked like complete ass is probably a good thing for the Cowboy fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of flooded out now that Jerry was always going to pick Dak. He was just wanting to make sure Dak was coming back 100% healthy and they didn't have to feel that they would rush them back. But it's very easy to say from Jerry after a loss, really, isn't it?
Well, it's not even Jerry, it's the fans. I had seen some Cowboy fans literally jumping on the Cooper Rush bandwagon.
No, they're genuinely serious.
I was fucking with you for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but you know I think Dak's a better quarterback. But I'm not lying. I really wanted to see you guys beat the Eagles. 1, because I'd like the Eagles to be at 5-1. And 2, I wanted the Cooper Rush insanity to kick off, because it's like I tell you about America. What I love about America is we're dysfunctionally functional, right? And that's what I love about it. I love when an NFL team is dysfunctionally functional when it's not my team.
Yeah. And that's kind of summed up the Cowboys of this past few weeks, definitely. So the Cowboys have got some of the most talented players in football on the pitch at any one time. Like, if you look at it, star-studded. But they're just playing away where it's just like, just let the stars go for it. Fuck it. The stars of the show, you just take it over. We'll just see what happens. Like, the stunts that they're throwing up on the defensive line, some of the stuff that Zeke and Tony Pollard are doing in the backfield. Like, it's awesome to watch. It's not winning football. Like, it's not the best way to win games when you're playing half-decent teams. And the Eagles are more than a half-decent team. I think the Eagles really prove, like, how awesome they are. Like, they might be, They're for real, 100%. I've taken more positives away from that game than negatives in terms of being a Cowboys fan there. Like, I just want to put into perspective, the Philly offensive line might be the best offensive line in football when Lane Johnson's fit. Their running game might also be the best in football. Their secondary might be amongst the best in football, if not the best in football. They're for real.
Their weak spot, which is really, it's a weird thing to say because they're not that weak anywhere. Their weak spot is over the middle, but they are such good fucking tacklers. It does not matter too.
Yeah, and they're great, like, fuck up the playability is what they've got going on in there as well. So they get their hands involved. Like, it's always dangerous thrown across the middle because you saw it with Cooper Rush's first interception, which, by the way, everybody who's still supporting Cooper Rush, that's fine. He's a really, really good backup quarterback. Thank you so much. But at least 2 of those interceptions were horrible. So the first one, he's got the tight end is wide open. Like, he's got good separation. Tight end is wide open. You just need to throw it into his path, and he throws it way behind. But then the Eagles make a great play on the ball. Like, don't get me wrong. Still, 6 to 7 times out of 10, that's still the tight end's ball. The way that he's thrown it, but against this Eagles secondary, you have to be so on the money, and that's just not a good pick that he's thrown there. No, it was to Gallup in triple coverage. Yeah, on the slant.
On to give some love to Cooper Rush because he has taken a lot of beating even from my jokes of Cooper.
Yeah.
I looked up his contract. He has 0 contract after this season. Okay, He's done. This dude's going to get paid $8 million to go sit behind somebody. And if we have the room, I would be more than happy to have him back up Kirk Cousins. Or no matter who you are, that's my point. And I am now convinced that Cooper Rush and Teddy Bridgewater are the 2 best backup quarterbacks in the NFL.
They're really well set up backup quarterbacks for a well-run offense. Like, if you've got weapons, that's who you want. Like, Cooper Rush will guide you safely to win games. That's what he's going to do for the Cowboys.
If you're the Chiefs, if you're the Vikings, if you're the Cowboys, if you're the 49ers, if you're any team with a competent head coach and a good team around them, Cooper Rush and Teddy Bridgewater will not lose you games if they have to come in for 3 or 4 games. And that's the best you can ask out of a backup. And I know people will argue, well, before Trey Lance got hurt, they were like, Jimmy Garoppolo, best backup. Well, yeah, but he's a starter playing backup. So let's not.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo should be a star.
Let's not do that role. I mean, just pure backups. Teddy and Cooper Rush, man, got hats tipped to both of them. And any team will be lucky to have Cooper Rush as a backup quarterback next year.
Yeah, I think he stays in Dallas. He's really well fit to that.
Well, whoever pays you the most, though, right?
Yeah, it's just like, it's like we have the second most cap space. Dak has a bit of a history of not like Dak doesn't get these long-term injuries apart from that one, which was a freak accident, but he is known to miss a game here or there, and Cooper Rush is perfect for that kind of guy.
This is just a random thought that I just came up with, but I want your opinion too. You think some team might be like in the offseason, not get the quarterback they want, don't have a starting quarterback, and go, let's sign Cooper as our starting quarterback and see what happens because we got nothing else?
Yeah, well, you just look at Geno Smith with the Seattle Seahawks, don't you, and think we could have a Geno Smith situation on our hands where they get to fall off the cliff physically, but they're so in tune with the game and know what's coming. Maybe. I think if Cooper Rush is your starting QB, then you're in trouble at quarterback.
The only thing that popped in my head is I didn't think I was going to see Marcus Mariota as a starting quarterback this year, and I did. So Cooper Rush kind of makes me think if a team's in a bad enough position, maybe they just go overpay Cooper Rush. Like, we'll give you $15 million, come in and start for us for a year.
1 year, yeah. I think Cooper Rush is the kind of quarterback you want if Cooper Rush will keep the house in order whilst you're waiting to draft your next QB. He'll run the offense well. He'll make sure that your guys are learning the offense, ready for that QB to come in. And he seems like the kind of guy that will help the QB get ready for the season.
He reminds me
he's got a coach.
Garoppolo.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Cooper Rush, though. But
I agree,
not
but
bad.
like they both just manage a game. They're both pretty accurate. They make the right decisions most of the time. I just think like he reminds me of that Garoppolo type. Like you got to have the right pieces around him because
Yeah,
Jimmy's not going to put you on his back and win a game, but he's not going to lose it for you. And I
yeah, like
think
Jared
Cooper's
Goff.
been dragged this week because he looks so bad against a really good Eagles team.
Yeah, the thing is with him looking so bad, right? I don't like us as a podcast. The reason that people should always listen to us is we give very middle of the road commentary on everything. We're really good at seeing like both sides. We won't sit on the fence once we have our opinion. Like that's our opinion,
Right.
and we'll stick to it. But we can always see both sides. I like to think that that's why we're a good podcast to listen to or show to watch. So I don't want to go too much on Cooper Rush and bag on him. Let's just break down the 3 touchdowns really quickly and 1 4th and inches. I'm aware that we've now spoken about the Cowboys for 11 minutes, but and just Cooper Rush, we haven't even really broke down the game. But so those three, those 3 touchdowns. The first one is a poor throw into triple coverage. That's horrible. The second one, a crossing route, which Darius Slay reads so well, but still, that was the problem with Cooper Rush the entire game. He was leaving meat on the bones and plays because he was aiming for his wide receivers' numbers rather than just putting it into the catching radius and just saying that's the only place you can get the ball. But Darius Slay makes a good play. That throw needs to be a few more inches to the left, and that's a big play that they've made there. The third one is not his fault, but it is his fault. Like he reads the play better with CD Lamb. CD Lamb is one-on-one on the left-hand side. Even before whoever the cornerback is falls over, he's got a step on CD Lamb. So he should be just lobbing that ball up there a second earlier, and he makes that throw. I have full trust in Cooper Rush if he's not being hit to make that throw. However, he does get hit, so it's not his fault. And on any other game this season, that's a pass interference. And I don't agree that it should be. He doesn't actually hit him in the helmet, but it's a pass interference in any other game, and that's been our problem with the refereeing this year as well. But I don't think Cooper played necessarily a bad game for a backup quarterback against this defensive line, against this secondary, the best team in the league. And he wasn't seeing the ball for 7 minutes at a time. Like when the Philadelphia Eagles drive, you don't see that ball. We got the ball. So we gave them the ball. We were 3 points down. I think it was the 14th minute and 30 seconds, and we didn't see it till we were 9 points down, at the 7th minute. So 7.5 minutes later in the 4th quarter.
I'm going to refer to Sean Payton a couple times because I hate that he's going back to coaching because he's really good on TV. Okay,
he's so good on TV, but
he was talking about how the Eagles stole 3 possessions from the Cowboys just by eating the clock, right?
Yep.
Like, and it's things like that that really the average fan doesn't think about. You know what I mean? Like that time of possession, you're taking 2, 3 possessions when you only get an average of 6 possessions per half.
Yeah, and it's if you actually look at the stats of the game, they're incredibly even. Like, so let me just read a few stats here. So the Eagles had 68 total plays, the Cowboys had 64. Those 3 stolen possessions that's 2 stolen possessions and the 2 interceptions in the first half. That's happened there. So that's 68 total points to 64 total plays. Sorry, the Eagles only had 268 total yards. The Cowboys had 315 total yards, but the Eagles were playing with much shorter fields because of their interceptions. The rushing yards, the Eagles only rushed for 2 more yards than the Cowboys. But it didn't feel like that, did it?
No, but Zeke looked like Zeke, didn't he, a couple times?
Yeah. Our rushing game is real. See, this is why I'm taking positives. Our rushing game is real. When we have our first choice QB in, we'll be a real offense really ticking. I have full confidence in us. It's just a shame that the Eagles are in our division and playing such lights out football.
Well, I do want to say about the Eagles and Hitman. if you are watching this, please mute this because I don't even want to hear you after I say this. Darius Slay, best corner in football right now this year.
Yeah, best all-around corner in football this year. So far, definitely. Yeah.
And I watched him on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark and Crowder, and man, he seems like a very good, humble dude too. And his life story was pretty rough. Like I have a more of appreciation for how great he is because of what kind of person he is too.
Yeah, I mean, I find it very difficult to give any Eagles player praise. Like, I hate the Eagles.
His mom had him when she was 13.
Well, yeah, he's impressive. There's a lot of stories like that in their team as well. I don't like their coach at the end of the game. Also, we do know that the driving maul in the NFL is illegal. We're all aware of this, right? It doesn't matter if it's 4th and 1. Like, they did it 3 times on 4th and 1, where they line the QB and they just push it like over the thing. Like, that is illegal. Like, either blow it or say it's not illegal anymore, and they're just not. So on a like a 4th and 1, the Eagles' favorite play is to basically.
It's not illegal in the NFL to push your quarterback or running back across the line anymore.
It is illegal unless they made it legal in the past 2 weeks.
I don't know. They even lifted that in college about 5 years ago. But I'm going to look it up. Finish telling your thing. I might be wrong.
It's if you you can't come in and drive into the back of a player to push them over the line. Is like it's an illegal call in. It should be. I mean, everybody's doing it. I'm not like this isn't just the Eagles. It's just the Eagles have perfected it. So, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs do it as well. And the refs just aren't calling anything. You're not allowed to drive your player over the line from behind, as far as I'm aware. But, yeah, they're a great team. And I take a lot of positives for the Cowboys and the Eagles. You guys have an awesome team this year. And your offensive line is the best in the league. I mean, Travis Kelce, even when he makes a mistake,
this says the NFL made it legal in 2005 to push or pull a runner to advance them forward across the first down marker. In 2013, the NCAA followed suit.
Wow, a lot of commentators are getting that wrong. There's a lot of commentators who've been saying that this year.
I swear, because I remember it switching in college, and that's what made me go, wait, so that's where that was. But
yeah, there's a lot of commentators on the NFL that don't know that rule's been. I rescind. Everybody should do it.
You said it. I'm like, I wasn't even sure if I was right at that point. So that's why Google's great, because we just got to look it up and give everybody the right information.
Yeah, definitely. Also, Travis Kelce dropping on that fumble sums up Travis Kelce. Even when he makes a mistake, he's the one who makes up for it. I was fuming. When he came up with that ball, I went, of course you came up with that ball. Of course you did. Hello.
She hates the camera, but she's bothering me, so I figured I'll annoy her, and then she'll go away.
There you go. But yeah, Travis Kelce dropping on that ball, that's just the most Travis Kelce shit of all time. But he's a great center as well.
So before we get on to that game, I wanted to just hit on my Vikings game a little bit. So getting out of that game, I was kind of fucking pissed off, even though we won, right? A win's a win, whatever. I was very happy that our defense carried the team, because we don't see that a lot. Dolphins do have a good defense. Then I was listening to my boy Sean Payton, who is probably going to be your boy Sean Payton next year, and I'll have to hate him.
Oh, yeah.
But he made a point that made me very excited about the Minnesota Vikings, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying, but he gets more in depth, okay? He said, if you go watch the Vikings games, all 6 of their games, those defenses threw every single type of defense you can see at them to try to stop that Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay offense. And he goes, and now O'Connell's got a week or 2 weeks to dissect everything that was thrown at them and now know how to counter it. He said, I think people should watch out. The Vikings are going to be way more dangerous coming out of the bye because of all the defenses they've had thrown at them. And he made me walking away feeling pretty good. And I did not know this, that he put this out there, but he said that Sean McVay and Kevin O'Connell, we know they're really good friends. They're really good friends. I did not know this. They get on the phone and help each other break down each other's film every week.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
You don't usually see that when you're coaching.
No. Not when they're both in the NFC either. I'm not sure whether I like it, if I'm being perfectly honest.
But we don't play them unless we hit them in the playoffs. So I think they wouldn't be giving away their secrets, right? Yeah. So they're just saying, like, hey, when they're running this, maybe you should do that and that. And they did this for how long together in LA, and now they're doing it for two separate teams. And I was like, wow, that's kind of like some inside information that Sean Payton gave us. But Sean Payton made me feel a lot better about my Vikings, because when their offense is clicking, they almost look unstoppable. And if the defense keeps playing the way it has the last couple of weeks, I'm feeling a lot better. And I'll tell you this, I think I said it before, it was an ugly win, but I will take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day.
I've been telling you since the start of the season, an ugly win is a win. It's a skill. Winning ugly is a skill, right? There are so many teams that play shit football, get within 3 points and lose that game because they feel like they're playing shit football, whereas the Vikings are playing shit football and still winning. I mean, your offense, when it is clicking, is unbelievable. Like, it is so efficient. Do you know that you have it's a really crazy stat, right? So when the Vikings are at home, they walk away from the red zone with a touchdown 80% of the time. That's pretty wild. Only when you're at home. When you're away, it drops down to 59%. But I mean, that'll be to do with like noise, and with all those different defensive looks that they're throwing at you, then that's obviously going to be harder. That doesn't mean that you don't walk away with field goals. That's only touchdown percentage, which is a wild thing. That's third in the NFL behind, I think, the Lions and Tennessee. And Tennessee are always good in the red zone. It's just getting to the red zone for Tennessee. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's easy to be good in the red zone when you only get there 8 times. I made that stat, guys. Don't take that as fact.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy to get to the red zone when you just have to give the ball to a 6'9" Derrick Henry who just falls over. But he doesn't. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. We've spoken about that ad nauseum. Your defensive line was absolutely eating. Like, it was awesome. It was really good to see. The Dolphins had 458 yards and lost. Yeah, do you know how many yards you guys had? Just out of interest.
3-something.
Yeah, 3-something. It's around 100 less.
Here's the thing, though. Like, that defense that Ed Donatel runs, that's kind of the Packers defense, which used to be the Denver defense. They've always been known for giving up a ton of yards and very little points.
Yeah, that bend but don't break. I like bend but don't break.
They play a lot of zones, so they'll let you catch that shit underneath and then swarm tackle. You know what I mean?
It's like the one team that you don't want to let them catch that shit underneath is the Miami Dolphins, though. But like, you guys managed to nullify it, which was impressive.
Whoa, I gotta say this. Patrick Peterson played like a Patrick Peterson of fucking 8 years ago, swatting balls, up in faces, making tackles. I was screaming P2 so many times during that game. I was excited to see Patrick Peterson, and he was saying that this defense fits him better than a lot of defenses he's played in since like his 3rd year. So yeah. I was very excited to see Patrick Peterson go off.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time that PFF have given him a good grade in about a year and a half or something like that. Like, it just doesn't grade well on PFF. I'm not sure why. But it's the first time he's got it in a year and a half. I mean, he played really well. The other thing about your defense was they were getting sacks at really important points, like sacks on 3rd down. It wasn't a 1st down sack. It was a 3rd down sack. It was a 4th. I think you guys got a sack on a 4th and 1 at some point, and it was a really
them right out of field goal range. And
yeah, exactly. And that fumble from Jalen Waddle, that's a 14-point swing there. With the way that drive was looking, that looked like they were driving down the field, getting a touchdown, and you ended up getting a touchdown off that turnover. So that's a 14-point swing in the game.
Yeah, I was just like Sean Payton made me feel better, but I was impressed with the defense. There's been other weeks I've been impressed with the offense. So if they can ever put those two together and then go on a run, I'll be very excited. As a Vikings fan, though, it's very hard for me to get too excited. I'm always waiting for the bottom to fall out. But this is a
Yeah.
whole new regime. Everybody's in a better spot. We have a coach that now teaches and shows love instead of a coach who was always yelling and telling you what you did wrong.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell's a first-year coach as well, and he's got a and he's getting these looks at him. He's dicing. He calls good games. It's often lack of execution rather than poor calls. I think a lot of the time in offense.
Think about this. So he played quarterback for Belichick in the NFL. He coached with Shanahan. He coached with McVay. I'm like, so like he's got really good teachers that he learned from. And my wife doesn't watch like much sports, a little bit here and there with me, little bit of different stuff. Whenever Kevin O'Connell's talking, she goes, I really like the Vikings head coach. Like, so even just his personality comes off right to people.
Yeah, he seems like a well-measured, like good guy. Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. And as you said, a great win going into the bye, especially away in Miami as well.
Yeah, we'll have a test with Arizona if their lack of wide receiver was the problem, because D-Hop's back tonight. Then he'll have another 10 days to get ready for the next game. So maybe, handful of D-Hop. But I think tonight's going to give a good idea of where the Cardinals are at right now. You know?
Definitely.
So that Bills Kansas City game was the game of the week. You thought it, I don't know, I shouldn't say you. I thought, oh shit, Patrick Mahomes, ball at the end of the game. This thing's going. And like that game, bro, that game was everything it was up to be. And thank you. It even hurts me to say this. Thank you, Stephon Diggs, for the 39 points. And if Kelly wouldn't have got injured in the first quarter, I should not have won. We're going to be honest. But Stephon Diggs brought me to victory. So thank you, Stephon Diggs, for the help in fantasy football.
5-1. Jay's the only 5-1 team in our division now, in our fantasy league. Impressive.
And I literally should have, I should have lost that last game. If Kelly doesn't pull whatever he pulls in the second play of the game, he's picking up the 3 points to beat me. Because Tony Michel had to have more than 3 points filling in for him.
Yeah, definitely. With the Chiefs and Bills team, this is the first time that the Bills have overmatched the Chiefs, like in almost every position on the field. It's the first time where the Bills roster looks better than the Chiefs roster, like all around.
Do you see the rumor that it probably won't happen, but because I think the Panthers will want too much to justify to their fans, but the Bills are interested in McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's so good.
Well played, Shug. Well played.
That's so good. We'll move on to the Giants soon. That's so good. Actually, I should save that point for the Giants. But I've got a good comparison between your points scored in the fantasy football league as well for the Giants as well. Christian McCaffrey on the Bills would be a great fit because their offensive line have actually started to create some holes, and then he in the running game, and then he can actually pass out of that game. He's great in the passing game is what I'm kind of getting at.
And with Singletary, they would play well off each other because one's a bruising back, one's a scat back. It would be really good.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And they were able to get the reason that the Bills won this game. The reason that the Bills won was because they were able to get pressure with 4 against Pat Mahomes. They were able to get pressure with 4 against Pat Mahomes. They didn't have to blitz anybody. Years gone past, the defensive line for the Buffalo Bills has been really weak, and they haven't been able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And if you blitz against Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, you're going to get torn apart. And they were able to get pressure with 4, keep those guys in the backfield, And it led to things like the game-losing interception from Patrick Mahomes, which was the desperation of needing to get the ball out quickly into a tight coverage because you're only rushing with 4 through sidearm throws. And people are saying things like, oh, the reason that Patrick Mahomes is so great is because of his sidearm throws, but it's also the reason he can be a liability. Patrick Mahomes isn't a liability. Don't be ridiculous. That was the only way he could have made that throw, or any throw, if you see the coverage on the whole play, is by sidearming that in there. And they had no other options. He could have thrown it out to the sideline. That was the only other option.
To answer your question, Shug, yes, he's playing tonight 3 days after leaving Arizona. Also, I do not, you know me, I have a rule. I do not hold a quarterback like called a bad play when you throw an interception trying to get yourself back into a game or trying to win it at the end. That shit's going to happen because you have to force balls to win that game or to get back in. So, like, when a quarterback is down by 21 points and he throws 3 interceptions in the fucking second half, I'm like, well, the dude was trying to throw you back into a game. Of course it happened. Patrick Mahomes is magic most of the time. So the one time it doesn't work, people are going to start talking shit.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, there was some bad calls from the referees in that game. We didn't touch on it in the Cowboys game. Oh, we touched on it a little in the Cowboys game. There was a lot of bad calls either side in the Cowboys game. And people are, like, Eagles fans are saying that the refs lost them the game. Cowboys fans are saying that the refs lost them the game. And basically what's happened there is you can only see when your team's been fucked over. Both teams got fucked over on multiple plays during that during that game. So
I remember being in the group conversation and going, that was a shit call on the Eagles. Wait, that was a shit call on the Cowboys. Like, I was putting that in the cop because I'm like, I got no, I got nothing, no stake in the game. So, like, I was being honest, and it was just like, because, and I got to say this, because I completely forgot. 1 ass cheek equals 2 feet in the NFL, and how the fuck that was not a touchdown, I still don't know.
I didn't want to bring it up because I get mad.
No, but like, you bring it up, it sounds like sour grapes. Me bringing it up as an independent, like 1 ass cheek equals 2 feet. That's in the rules, and how that was not a touchdown. And was it not called a touchdown on the field?
No, not a touchdown on the field.
No, okay.
They would have had to overturn it, which is why it's.
But they still should have. His ass cheek hit.
His ass is in. His ass is in. But yeah.
Okay, I had to bring that up. Sorry.
Fans, it's okay, Eagles fans. That shove in the back equals a touchdown play and an interception play. That's fine. Not getting sour or anything like that. Because that's all they rebuttal with is like, well, that Tony Pollard call was definitely a shove in the back. Yes, it was. It 100% was. But we had a touchdown wiped off the board, and we should have had an interception wiped off the board as well at the end of the game. But anyway, yeah. So the Bills were able to get pressure on Pat Mahomes, which then causes that interception at the end because he's having to throw it in tight spaces all game. The Chiefs' running game just couldn't get going. And the Chiefs, for the first time, are coming up against the Bills with a really, really, really solid offensive line. So they can't get pressure with 4. They have to blitz, which then leads to just Josh Allen being an absolute freak on some plays. Like, Josh Allen is Superman. He hurdles Reed, which is just insane. And that dart that he throws for the go-ahead touchdown is awesome. An awesome throw.
I pride myself on being a pretty high-quality judge of quarterbacks coming out of college, okay? Mm-hmm. Like, I really pride myself on watching them and trying to get it right and predicting before the drafts which quarterbacks are. Please, nobody go back and listen to my commentary on Josh Allen. Please don't ever do that. Please. Because that 52% completion rating killed me when he was in college, but it was just he didn't have the right guys to throw to or something because he is just fucking amazing.
Yeah, well, he was playing in a shitty team, wasn't he? And, like, who did he play for? Like, was it North Dakota? No, that's Trey Lance.
Yeah, North Dakota State. Yeah.
North Dakota. They both played for North Dakota State.
Didn't he play for the same team that
Trey Lance played for? Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, like, a bit of a nobody team in horrible fucking weather.
Sam K, what up? That's one of the co-hosts of MMA Underground.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern.
make sure to go check it out. It really helps us out.
And
also,
Soundcase Fire 5 is fucking really fire, so make sure you check that out.
I forgot to do my usual my usual shit of everybody who's watching this stream right now, like it. Just press the like button. It really helps us out. Press the like button, press the share button if you can be asked, and make sure that you're subscribed already. And we're going to move on now and talk about the Packers and the Jets. Because you've had some Nostradamus moments this year. You've had some awesome Nostradamus moments this year. Absolutely incredible. This is my Nostradamus moment.
Was that that was the greatest game of the weekend?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that game. It was awesome. I'm going to say it. Big playmakers. In the NFL, big playmakers win games. And the Packers don't have any. And the Jets are absolutely filled to the brim with huge playmakers. It's just where they don't have huge playmakers, they have either A+ players or C players. There's nobody in the middle. Oh, I'm having a moment in the middle now. I mean, the Jets, that was my Nostradamus moment of football, and they looked absolutely great. I mean, Robert Saleh playing really hard. From year one, he's got that defense playing hard, and now he's got the players to back it up. Jets, 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 Jets.
All right, I'm dying. I had to do it, though. I couldn't get to it quick enough. I wanted to do it when you started because you were so beautifully just praising the Jets and shitting on the Packers. It felt like it needed some like cinematic moment.
Yeah, but basically it comes from Jets have playmakers, Packers don't have any, and that's where we're at with that, right? So basically what has to happen is Aaron Rodgers can only throw dimes. The only way that they can get through the field is Aaron Rodgers has to throw absolutely lightning, and sometimes he can't do that.
I do think Sammy Watkins coming back will help a little. Their injury bugs, but man, I hesitate to shit on the Packers because they've been the king of the North so long, and it's Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, as I always say. But like, they don't look the same. This team is off.
This team is bad. Like I think this is coming, and it'll come for a few more of the other games as well. But I think I'm definitely guilty. The whole NFL media scene, podcasters, everybody like that has been grading teams on reputation a lot more this year than actual skill levels. So the Rams don't have an offensive line.
And they just lost another tackle.
Yeah, the Bucs will come on to, and the Packers just don't look right at all. They don't have a single playmaker. Aaron Jones is their only playmaker, and Aaron Rodgers, obviously. But apart from that, they don't have any playmakers. Their defense isn't as good as everybody's saying it is. And do you know what's really shit? That they keep on getting credit for being absolutely awesome. Their offensive line, the Jets' defensive line was living in Aaron Rodgers' just general vicinity the entire game. Also, the Jets have this guy called Breece Hall, who's a absolute running back monster who plays, I mean, huge.
Quit taking Michael Carter's touchdowns. Can you quit taking Michael Carter's touchdowns, please? All right, I'm done.
huge game-breaking ability, Breece Hall, and then Sauce Gardner at the end with the cheese head on him. Beautiful moment. Fair play to Alan Lazard though for just knocking off his head.
Did you see Aaron Rodgers' response to him wearing the cheese head?
Yeah, he said, what did he say? He was like, yeah, they got a big win. They're a young team. Like,
he's fair play. You won it. You have the right to celebrate. He was like, I didn't have a problem with it. You won. I thought that was massive shit.
Yeah.
I like how Alan Lazard did it too, though. He wasn't disrespectful, was fun loving, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's where the Packers might be losing it as well. Like, they just don't seem to have any heart in their play. Like, they just don't seem to have any heart in their play whatsoever. Like, I just don't think they've got that fight. I just don't see that fight from them at all.
It's different. It's definitely different. That's for sure. Like, they don't look like the same Packers team from the relaxed days of when Rodgers did the whole relaxed thing. I gotta ask you though, you want to talk some Giants real quick?
Let's do it. I mean, the Giants are the best situational team in all of football. I think that's a fair enough statement to make.
people got upset with me on Facebook, but I'm going to double down. Brian Daboll is the reason they are winning games. He is out coaching everybody right now. Situational football for him. He is at the top right now. He is putting his teams in the perfect positions at the perfect times. And they are beating teams with way more talent than them because Brian Daboll is coaching his fucking ass off.
Yeah, Brian Daboll's coach of the year so far, right? There can't be anybody else. I mean, what is the name of the Philadelphia fucking head coach? I can't remember it. Sirianni?
Yeah, Nick Sirianni.
Nick Sirianni. Okay. That's not the Texans GM, is it?
No, wait.
No. What's his name?
Nick Casarik? I don't remember.
Nick Casario. Yeah, I knew they had similar names. I've been thinking that this entire podcast. Sorry, Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni has a claim, but he has a way better team than Brian Daboll. Like, the Giants have already won as many games as a lot of people thought they were going to win in the entire season. It's just part of that.
There's a handful of coaches right now who are doing really well. I would put Daboll number 1 in coach of the year. I have no problem with Sirianni being in that discussion. I think you can actually throw Kevin O'Connell in that discussion, even though I think that Brian Daboll would be the winner as of right now because he took that team. Like, there's a lot of coaches that deserve it, but let's not take away from what Daboll is doing at all.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens had 406 yards total. 211 of those were rushing yards. And the Giants have only been able to win by rushing the ball, but they only rushed the ball for 83 yards this time around, and they still came away from the win. And it's their situational play. So time of possession is so important. We were talking about it during the Cowboys and Eagles game. They had nearly 32 minutes in possession, whereas the Ravens only had 28 minutes. And that's how do you do that whilst still only getting 238 yards? Like, that's an impressive amount of time to take off the clock. What's the score breakdown? Yeah, they scored 14 points in the last in the final quarter. They scored 14 points to 7 in the final quarter. And I think the biggest thing in this is penalties. And it was the same in the Cowboys game. The Cowboys got beaten by penalties, but the Baltimore Ravens gave up 74 yards in penalties and the Giants gave up 25. Not beating yourself is so important. And the Giants have been playing ball that's going to win them games through Brian Daboll.
Yeah, he, like I said, his coaching has been amazing to me. I am really impressed with everything he's been doing. I have a hard time believing in the Giants, but like I have a hard time like writing them off now too, if that makes sense.
I still don't believe in the Giants. Like, they get beaten by more talented teams. Like, maybe the Ravens aren't as good as we think they are. Like, the Ravens are the best team. Like, they lost to the Cowboys. They've not beaten anybody real apart from the Ravens, who are definitely real, and they should have lost that game. They just they were outclassed on the actual pitch. They were just outcoached. They just outcoached John Hardball off it, which was impressive.
So let's talk about some Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the one thing I'm really feeling about the Buccaneers right now is
I like the 80s sound effects. Yeah, I mean, the Bucs. I'm not sure what to really think about the Bucs. I think the Steelers played really well this game. I want to give the Steelers some credit and some love.
The Bucs are still going to go to the playoffs.
Sorry?
I think the Bucs still make the playoffs, and nobody wants to see Brady in the playoffs. But
yeah, they do have the vibe to me of a team that is looking to find the gas, and as soon as they get it, that's it. Like, it's the same as their Super Bowl winning season. Like, they just start slow. Like, Tom Brady's going through a lot of shit at the minute. Like, he just needs to get into his head and get into his rhythm. He also needs, when you're not playing that well as a QB, you need your wide receivers to come up with some big plays. And they have a huge wide receiving room, and they're just not really coming up with those plays for them. So Gage in the end zone, Tom Brady throws a low ball. It is low, but Gage should be disappointed that he doesn't come up with that. When your quarterback's not having the best time on the field, that's the kind of plays that you need to come up with. And Gage just doesn't come up with that play, which would have really changed the game. The Steelers in a really close game played really good special teams as well. That big return is huge in terms of special team. I really like the way that the offense looks through Kenny Pickett, and Mitch Trubisky comes in and plays a good game as well at the end. Like that final drive from Mitch Trubisky was impressive.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the Steelers. But when we go back to talking about the Buccaneers, literally think about this. So the Eagles are 6-0. The Giants and the Vikings are 5-1. The Cowboys are 4-2. The 49ers, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Buccaneers, and the Falcons are all 3-3.
Yeah, they'd be bottom of the NFC East. That's why the NFC East is the best division in football right now.
Like, it's just, but if you think about it, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams at 3-3. So, like, them teams are not out of the playoffs. They're not in a bad spot. They're not like, I know their fans feel like the world around them is crumbling, but it's not, because there's literally only 4 teams with better records than them. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't, like, if I'm a Bucs fan right now, I'm not worrying. Like, they're gonna get out of that. They're gonna get out of this. I genuinely think when I look at it, the Steelers got their asses handed to them by the Bills, and they came back angry. Like, when you look at some of those shots over the middle, like, Jesus Christ, no wonder the wide receivers weren't making big plays. They were getting absolutely nuked if they went anywhere near the middle. Then there's that goal line stand where they take them back from the 1 to about the 15-yard line, all on sacks. Like, that's the most Steelers shot I've ever seen. Like they were really going for it. And I look at their team and I just think, do they know that they can add another wrinkle to this offense? Do they know that they can add some actual gameplay to this offense now? Like, Kenny Pickett knows their offense. Mitch Trubisky knows their offense. Like, they have some of the best. Their wide receiver room is class. Like, it is really good. Their running back is really good. Their O-line is not good, but they can add some wrinkles to it. They can look at this new style of football that's out there, like loads of screens, like just lob the fucking ball up to your absolutely monstrous wide receivers some of the times might help.
Putting your receivers in motion more help your offensive line, because it makes the linebackers and safeties have to hesitate for a second. There's a lot of things you can do to help out your offensive line, unless you're the Rams, because now this is a different story, but you're playing like guys who shouldn't even be in the NFL on your offensive line. But
and the Steelers are they're playing way too much inside their own potential. They have so much more potential than there are teams that are trying to play to their potential and not hitting it, but the Steelers are playing within themselves. And I just think when you have a defense the way that your guys can just smack people down and play solid, I think it might be worth their while just throwing in some more complex shit. Like, they can really do this. They can add a few more wrinkles to their game.
Well, before we get on to tonight's game, I think there's something we got to talk about. There's this whole thing going on with Dan Snyder, the NFL, Robert Kraft coming out saying that, or I mean, not Robert Kraft, Jim Irsay coming out saying that they should probably vote Dan Snyder out of being an owner in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Jerry Jones finds out how much Roger Goodell makes, which is $60 million last 2 years, doesn't like the way the escalators are written in his contract, starts to bring that up. Robert Kraft says something to the effect, he's eating all the shit that would be coming at us anyway. Jones gets mad and yells in the owners' meetings, don't fuck with me.
To be fair, Jerry Jones eats that shit too. Like, Jerry Jones might be one of the only owners that eats that shit. Just putting that out there.
Jerry Jones only eats what he puts on himself.
Oh, yeah. Jerry Jones eats that shit because he's very happy doing it. Like, that's the thing. I think Mike Florio put it really well. For such a rich guy, Jerry Jones is a cheap bastard. Like, honestly. Like, he's one of those guys where, if you took him out, it'd be like, you think I made all of this by giving my money away? Like, I think he's one of those guys, when you own the richest franchise in the NFL, like what's fucking 65 million? I think he's just annoyed that Roger Goodell's making more than any of his players.
He wanted Roger Goodell out a couple years ago too,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think Jerry does not like Roger Goodell, and there's some of that to it too.
I think Roger Goodell. I like Roger Goodell. I think the NFL is now at a point where they could do with hiring a guy who's like CEO, has run massive businesses before. Like, imagine getting like the CEO of like Coca-Cola and Pepsi like in there, running it like an actual business, long-term business plans rather than just reacting to things and reacting to mistakes. They'd be more down to making policies to not make the NFL look bad, like that kind of thing. And I think it might be time. I kind of agree with Jerry on this one.
Before I hit on Dan Snyder a little bit, so I think that where Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell fell out is when the NFL had that one uncapped year, and the Redskins and the Cowboys went over the cap, even though Roger Goodell warned them all not to, and then he penalized them the next year on their salary cap for doing it. I think that's where him and Jerry had a real fucking problem. And I also think Jerry has this thing like, go fuck yourself. I grew a brand in the Cowboys that nobody else could grow. And if it wasn't for me, the NFL Network doesn't even exist. And how much money are you fuckers making off of that?
Yeah. Like, I think Jerry Jones is the only owner that can sit there and say, I built this shit myself. Like, he can sit there in the NFL and be like, he might be the only guy who has the cause to say, if the NFL commissioner didn't exist, that would be fine. Like, I don't need the NFL commissioner. It's not my, like, I've made my own brand. I've made my own team. I know the football side of the business and everything like that. And I shit on a daily basis, and everybody makes money off me going on the radio and doing all of this kind of thing as well. I just think.
What the fuck does Roger Goodell do that justifies $60 million a year though? Like,
I mean, if you any CEO of the biggest
no, I get that, but like Roger Goodell just causes more problems, it seems like, for the NFL than he helps a lot of times with the way he handles player discipline and some and different things. I'm actually with Jerry. I'm not a fan of Roger Goodell. I think the NFL needs a commissioner, but I think it needs to be somebody different. I don't disagree with your premise on what you say of a CEO, but I do not think you will ever get a commissioner who is not a lawyer.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Like, have the CEO at the top and have the football guys and the lawyers and stuff the next rung down. Like, but the CEO actually looking at a long-term plan of how to grow a business overseas.
Because
the next NFL team is growing a business overseas, isn't it?
It's because the NFL has lost lawsuits over what commissioners have said in the public, and so I think they like having a lawyer that knows when to shut his fucking mouth.
Yeah, but CEOs are trained in all of that shit. Like, you don't even have to have like an actual lawyer has.
Paul Paglia, who cost the NFL millions by things he said in lawsuits. So, the commissioner's words get used against them. So I think that's why they protect themselves with a lawyer, is what I'm saying. It's because the NFL does not like losing.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying on the building the brand. But when you have 31 oligarchs and the Green Bay Packers, because they don't have an owner, you like these oligarchs just want to be protected more than they want the right thing to be done.
Yeah, definitely. I think that Jerry Jones is definitely standing there, the only person who has done it all himself. I think the other guys are more than happy to pay the commissioner to do their shit, whereas Jerry's already done it all himself, so he doesn't need to pay the guy that much.
And then I'm going to pivot to Dan Snyder real quick. Yeah. And this is what really bothers me about
Jerry's
the
best friend.
So we find out during the pandemic that he's stealing, or that he's sexual misconduct. He's he's treating people like shit. It's an unhealthy workplace. He's being sued by all kinds of people. The NFL brushes this away. The second they find out he's fucking funneling money and embezzling money from the NFL, now it's a fucking problem and you want to get rid of him. But the moral standard, fuck that. Fuck the NFL's like, fuck the women who have been victimized. Fuck the other employees who were treated like shit. We don't care how you treat people. Then the second you find out he's funneling money, now it's a fucking problem.
Yeah, and they're now using the fact that he's created a harmful working environment, especially for women, as the reason to kick him out of the NFL. So they've skipped over it, found out he's funneling money, and have now circled back round to the reason that they should have got rid of him in the first place. Look, I do think it takes a multiple reasons to kick somebody out of the NFL. So maybe
they know more shit than we do too, because all those leaks of emails. Gruden got fired because Dan Snyder decided to leak some emails over some personal shit. And I'm not saying Gruden was in the right, but that just proves what kind of dude Snyder is.
Yeah, Daniel Snyder is one slimy scumbag, isn't he? Like, how do you become so unlikable in a group of 30 other oligarchs? Like, I don't understand. How are you the unlikable one in a league where the guy who is one of the most loved people in it is an 80-year-old man with an 80-year-old white man who's just married like a girl who looks about 30 and like destroyed British chocolate? I know he makes great mac and cheese, but he bought.
I don't like mac and cheese, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about Robert Kraft, by the way, for our British audience. Yeah. He destroyed Cadbury's chocolate, the Terry's chocolate orange, destroyed it, fucker. But how do you become the unpopular one when that's the other scenarios? The other guy that we've been talking about today, he's an oil business owner. We know that Jerry Jones has done some seedy ass shit, and the guy calling him out, Jim Irsay, he was a right fucking scumbag. Like, he's done some bad shit in his life, and people are on his side over yours. How bad must you be?
Just in fairness to Jim Irsay, his shit was all drug related. Like he didn't like scumbag business practices or stuff like that. Because I find that Jim Irsay gives a lot of money. He does a lot of things. So, but I just want to defend Jim a little bit. But how are you, Daniel Snyder, in a room full of people who have done immoral shit up and down the board, and you're the biggest scumbag in the room? You obviously have done some real scumbag shit.
And it's just like holding on to email, like he's holding on to those emails to use them against other people. That's Game of Thrones style bastardry. Like, that's modern day Game of Thrones shit. Like, in season 1, somebody who sent him an email, and then by season 7, he's ready to use it because it's the most opportune moment.
Did you see that he told one of the reporters that the NFL can't fuck with we were like the mafia, and I know where the bodies are buried?
Yeah, exactly. He's a fucker.
I love Jim Irsay, though. Jim Irsay's like, investigate the fuck out of me. My whole past is public record. Get rid of this dude. You know what
it's like you sit there and you just go, we all know that the rest of the guys are scumbags. Like, we just know that you're even more of a scumbag. Like, there's no way that yes, he has emails. Yes, he's got all of that shit. There's no way that the emails that he possesses amounts to the amount of shit that he's done over the years. Plus, he's running that team into the ground. Plus, they have a horrible stadium. But like, Jerry Jones. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean. I thought
Jerry Jones has done some really bad shit, right? But he runs an amazing football team, gives a lot of money to his community. They use that facility for all sorts of shit. Like, but Dan Snyder, I imagine this is what you're going to mention. Dan Snyder is hated so much by the people of Washington, they won't let him fucking build a stadium. Yeah, that's insane. How do you fucking how do you run the local football team and can't get support to build a new stadium with your own fucking money? That's ridiculous. It's going to be the Washington Prime.
He needs to go.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos takes over, turns it into the Washington Prime.
Yeah, I always said the Washington Prime. Remember, that's a great name.
Fourth name in 4 years.
So, let's get on to tonight's game. We got the Cardinals versus the Saints. I've been going back and forth on who I think is going to win this game. We looked up who is starting quarterback, so it's going to be Andy Dalton. That actually swayed my pick. And I'm riding with the Saints to beat the Cardinals because the Cardinals have been dysfunctional. And I got more faith in Andy Dalton not losing a game than Jameis. And I don't mind Jameis, but I think Jameis takes more chances. And if it was first game back, could probably chalk up 2 interceptions right off the bat. And I
Yeah.
really like how Taysom Hill is catching the ball, running the ball, but most importantly, he is blowing people up blocking.
Yeah, and the fact that they're using Andy Dalton probably means that Taysom Hill's going to see more of the field, right? They've been using him a lot, whereas when Jameis is on the field, they feel they need to use Jameis more. But when Andy Dalton's another one of those guys in the class of Teddy Bridgewater and Cooper Rush.
Yeah, he's just older. That's the only downfall.
Yeah, and he's on the cusp of that kind of starter job, like in between the 30 and the 40 best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, if he wasn't retired, he's a Fitzpatrick, Teddy Bridgewater, Andy Dalton, Cooper Rush. I almost called him Cooper Cush because that's what Pat McAfee's been calling him for 3 weeks.
But yeah, he's in the same kind of bracket as that. And obviously an ex-Cowboy as well. He did a great job for us while Dak was out last season. Season before. Last season. No, season before. But they, I'm going to and fro in this one. The Saints defense was the Saints defense that everybody seems to think it is, rather than when you actually watch the film, it would be the Saints, no doubt. But the Saints defensive line, you just expect to be good, and it's not. Like, if you actually go watch the Saints defensive line, it's not that good. And what's the Arizona Cardinals' main problem? Well, Kyler Murray has no time to throw the ball, and everything's getting batted down because he can't take any time because that offensive line is no good. Just to be different, just to get a different pick from you, I'm going to pick the Arizona Cardinals because I think it's going to be a 50-50 game. I wouldn't bet on it. Like, it's not a game I will bet on. I'm predicting D-Hop to go pretty big in his first game back, though. That'll be exciting to watch.
I hope you're right, to be honest with you. I would always rather play a team coming off a win than a loss. Because you're coming off a loss, you play harder. So yeah. I hope Arizona wins this game, but I'm picking the Saints.
Yeah, I just want to shout out Zaven Collins. Zaven Collins was my sweetheart in a draft 2 years ago. Like, my guy that I was like, he's first round, he's probably the best linebacker on the board, really. And he's the only one that's playing as solid as everybody else. He was the same draft class as Micah Parsons, but Micah Parsons isn't really a linebacker. That wasn't it's not a fair fight.
Yeah, and then are you talking inside, outside, whatever? That's a whole nother.
Yeah. And I've never seen a team fuck up so badly with so much speed and so many freaky athletes that the Cardinals have.
I have to say this, even though it's about Micah Parsons. You always fuck me up with the Micah Parsons thing. It's the English British thing. He could play any position on the defense except for nose tackle.
I'd love to see him line up at nose tackle. The way that they're stunting, he does go through nose tackle.
But he cannot.
I'm not playing him on running downs
But he could play any position on the defense except for nose tackle.
Yeah, we didn't mention how well the Eagles actually played Micah Parsons.
Eagles fans got mad at me for this, and I got called a Cowboys fan, which is always funny to me. You're talking about a dude playing that well with a injured groin.
Yeah, they played him really well as well because there was 2 plays, so a third down and AJ Brown's touchdown. I think it was the second touchdown of the game, where they managed to isolate him 2-on-1, and he either has to go for Jalen Hurts or he has to go and cover AJ Brown, and there's just nothing that he can do, and they leave him unblocked because they know they can't block him, so they block the guy that will be coming over to help. So they leave the best player unblocked because they can get him 2-on-1 because they're able to block whoever the help's meant to be to come over with AJ Brown. I think it's Antonio Brown or something.
I think a lot of that had to do with his groin, though, to be honest with you. I think we would have seen it different.
There were plays last year where they tried to do exactly the same, and he just went, right, well, I'm just going to fucking blow up the quarterback and just see what happens. And he was so quick that he can do that. But yeah, the Cardinals' defense has so much pace, so many freaky athletes, and it's the same with the Cardinals offense. For some reason, Cliff Kingsbury wants to play a traditional offense with the Cardinals players. Like, why the hell would you do that? Like, why are they doing that? Why don't they just have the most ridiculous amount of gadget plays of all time?
Because he should not be an NFL coach. He should still be in college.
Definitely. But even like college coaches don't like run gadgety plays all the fucking time because they just have those freaky athletes. I can see. I don't know why the Cardinals hired him to an extension or anything like that. It's time for him to go Cliff Kingsbury, I think.
I agree. Well, I hope this game does not suck tonight. I hope it's exciting.
Yeah, I might watch the first quarter before going to bed to see if to see what's going on, and then go to sleep if it's shit.
So I know and maybe we'll get a sponsorship out of this. Remember the other day when I told you, oh shit, I got to run to McDonald's quick before we go on because I want breakfast food. So I order egg and cheese biscuit. Of course, those fuckers somehow forget the cheese, which is 33% of what I ordered. Okay.
Yeah.
They never mess up my order. I was very nice, and I just called them. We had a Packer game and said, you screwed up my order, but there's no way I'm coming back for a Packer game. McDonald's sent me some free shit. So thank you, McDonald's. We could use your sponsorship because as poisonous as your food is, there's nothing like an egg and cheese biscuit. And by saying they're poisonous, I just ruined our chance of getting a sponsorship.
That's an egg and cheese McMuffin to our British viewers, by the way.
Well, I don't like their English muffins, so mine's on a biscuit.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's still right. That's a
muffin, but they have to be very crispy, and McDonald's does not know how to crisp anything like an English muffin, so I go with the biscuit.
Do you know the Americans eat more English muffins than we do? Like English muffins.
My wife fucking loves English muffins, dude.
It's not like a big deal over here. Like obviously we just call it a muffin, but like it's not a massive deal over here.
What is spotted dick?
I don't know. We don't eat that here. Like you guys are obsessed with it because it's like a steamed pudding that was on.
Ramsey brings it up. That's the only reason we know what it is Chef Ramsey.
It's a steamed pudding that was on pub menus in the 80s.
What is blood pudding? That's really blood though, right?
That's like black pudding. Like so we don't call it blood pudding, we call it black pudding.
Well, black pudding, like but it's blood.
Yeah, you drain pig's blood and like it's like a sausage.
Okay.
Like congealed pig's blood in a sausage. It's so good. That's so good on a breakfast. You don't eat meat, mate, so that's really not your deal. But like,
right. Yeah. But I think this is Irish. But one of my favorite foods from over by you guys is shepherd's pie.
I'd say it's a Welsh thing, Welsh and Irish thing. Okay. We have all the sheep.
I don't use real meat. I use Impossible, but I still make shepherd's pie once in a while.
I mean, like full lamb stew, like that lamb stewing away for days. This is the kind of conversations we have when we're not recording, guys. By the way, we're just letting you into a little.
It's the Yankee and the Brit, man. It doesn't have to be just, like we're educating the world on the differences. I've learned so much that I didn't know about that part of the world just by talking to you for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah. Also, our prime minister's just resigned. Everyone, just letting you know.
The one that everybody was mad about?
Yeah, she lasted 48 days. They put a lettuce in the fridge or something like that to see what would last longer, Liz Truss or the lettuce before it goes rotten. And the lettuce lasted longer than Liz Truss. It's an insight into British humor there for everyone.
Anybody in the U.S. who wants to really have your mind blown about politics, go read about theirs because it makes sense to them. It's crazy. It's so different from the way we do it. It's like they don't have regular elections like we do. Just go read about that. Like they don't have scheduled elections.
I was in Belgium a couple of months ago, and theirs is even weirder. Theirs is even more fucked up.
Okay.
KT, you missed the football. Go back. Go listen. You missed the football.
Hey, shout out to Prince KT who I have to play this week in fantasy. His team is deep as fuck, and the only thing I got going for me is he's thin at running back, but everybody in a 14-team league is thin. But his team scares me, and I got very blessed because I don't have to face Josh Allen, Delvin Cook, or Adam Thielen. So I got lucky.
Yeah. Oh, that was the point I was meant to make.
Put it out there. I knew you were gonna put that out there. Go ahead.
The Giants. So you're a great situational fantasy football player. You've got the 5th most points in the league, and you're top of the league at 5-1 because you've got something like the least points scored against you or stuff like that. Situational fantasy football player. Genius.
I'm all right, KT. Me and you, championship game. I'm okay with that.
You're the Brian Daboll. Jay is the Brian Daboll of the fantasy football league.
And when I drafted, I was predicted to be coming ninth, and somehow they have me predicted to win the fucking thing this year. But I tell everybody, don't believe those predictions, because when we drafted last year, I was predicted to win it for the first like 8 weeks and then didn't even make the playoffs.
I'm not going to win it this year. I'm very middle of the road. My team is like straight line.
But if you go look, our records are a lot like NFL records right now. Everybody's bunched up, and these bye weeks are going to hurt some people. So
it's really fucked up. If you go look at some like really good podcaster predictions, so like people like Chris Sims and like people like PFF, like stuff that we really trust because they. So like we don't really trust people like Skip Bayless or Colin Cowherd. I don't think anybody does, but like we really fucking don't because they don't show the other side of any story, just their opinions. Where true.
If Lamar and Stephon Diggs go down, I'm fucked.
Yeah, but it's stuff like Chris Sims and PFF where they really analyze the game and they show both sides of their opinions and stuff. They're really getting fucked in like predicting games this year. Like they're really getting their arse handed to them. So I'm not feeling too bad about how bad the ours have gone. Ours have been awful.
This just proves how much parity there is in the NFL, and people can go, that team just sucks. Dude, they're all professionals. They're all getting paid. And even if you're the worst player in the NFL, you're still the 1,500 best person at what you do in the whole world. There's only 1,500 people in the world better than you at something if you're the worst player in the NFL.
Unless you play for the Carolina Panthers, in which case you're going to get absolutely dominated by most college teams. Not most college teams.
I do not believe there's and I love the joke. I do not believe there's a college football team in the world that could beat an NFL team.
I would like to see the Georgia defense go up against Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers offense, especially without Robbie Anderson. I think that'd just be fun to watch.
You think pro teams are the best college athletes there were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
there is some college offenses though. There is some college offenses where you take the wide receiver rooms, and if you put that wide receiver room in the NFL, it would be unbelievable. So like Alabama,
from now on, the national champion has to play the number one draft picking team in the NFL every year.
Yeah, I would love that. I think that'd be great. I would love to watch that.
All right, guys. And one last thing before we get out of here, go check out the shows, go like, go subscribe, go check out the playlist. And also the U.S. versus England World Cup on Black Friday. Make sure you tune in so we can watch Maddie weep tears twice after we beat Wales and then England, and Christian Pulisic comes out as the best player in the world. All right.
He's not even good enough to play for Chelsea.
No, you guys are just American hate. That's all that is. I'm sticking to it.
If Ted Lasso doesn't coach the American football team, I'm going to be so pissed. It's going to be so upsetting.
I've heard so much about that show. I really need to go watch it.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. Also, watch This Is Wrexham. It's an American football. Not an American football. It's about a team in Wales that's owned by Ryan Reynolds and the guy out of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
What's the name of it?
This Is Wrexham. It's on Disney Plus. It's good.
It's on VPN. Anyway.
Yeah.
So sponsor us, VPN. That's all I'm saying.
So good, right? That's that's in Wales. That's my home country.
And Prince KT, since you're a big wrestling fan, any idea when Heels is coming back? Because that shit was fire.
That's on Hulu as well. Okay.
All right, cool. Guys, that's it. We're going to get ready to watch some football here shortly. And I'm going to go share this across the internet world so we can give more people our show.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. Let's go subscribe, all of that crap. Cheers,
we will see you guys on Sunday. Make sure you tune in for our pregame, and there you have it. And got a hella wrestling to talk. And let's get back on that Mark Out podcast, KT. Let's get that running again. I know Mustache was taking. Sorry, I know he doesn't want to be called that anymore. Devin was taking off for some school, but you and whoever, man, you want to jump back on that? Let's get that rolling.
All right.
All right. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.